What do toothbrush bristles, women's stockings, and commercial resins have in common? All of the following are made of one particularly handy polymer: nylon. Nylon is the umbrella term for a number of plastic polymers. Nylons are also almost interchangeably known as polyamides, predictably due to their being a polymeric amide. The most commonly used commercial form of nylon is called nylon 6,6, which features a structure containing two monomers of 6 carbon atoms, hence 6,6. Nylons are produced through a condensation reaction similar to that by which peptide bonds are created between an amine, in the case of nylon 6,6 hexamethylene-diamine, and a carboxylic acid, with nylon 6,6 using adipic acid, going on to produce nylon salt, a form of nylon which has to be further processed through the polymerization process before it can be ready for its commercial use. From there, the nylon is processed in a number of different ways depending on its eventual use, but we'll go over that in a later segment. The nylon can be manufactured into fibers, which can then be used for a number of purposes, including clothing or resin, which can be used as a solid material. Now that we've gone over the general chemistry and process, let's find out how we got to this point. Take yourself back to the 1920s. In the aftermath of the First World War, chemical research is advancing at unprecedented levels. A shining example of this is the DuPont Laboratory, an American testing facility which, throughout the second half of the decade, was making constant breakthroughs in synthetic chemistry, including rayon, a similar precursor to nylon. In 1928, an American scientist named Wallace Carruthers heads the research team for polymers, and immediately, with funding flowing in from DuPont, they're hard at work. They have two objectives: to synthesize new polymers and to find industrial applications for these new polymers. The research that would ensue was absolutely inspired, and eventually, after many iterations and years of lab work, the first sample of nylon 6,6 would be produced in 1935. The production process was found to be complicated, but this was offset by the unique and irreplaceable properties found in nylon, particularly in its unparalleled strength and flexibility. And so the effort to commercialize nylon would begin. In 1938, the discovery was officially announced to the public, with DuPont having done some legal work behind the scenes to make sure that they had the full rights to nylon 6,6 and its production techniques and facilities. The first nylon products included nylon toothbrushes, replacing the traditional boar bristle toothbrushes of the era, and nylon stockings, which were the centerpiece of a large advertising campaign by DuPont directed towards women. This was particularly effective in a time period where society was still liberalizing, as women's dresses were getting shorter and stockings could be marketed more easily. Demand grew exponentially, but all this came to a close once America entered the Second World War in 1941. Nylon could be used to make tents, parachutes, and other military-use fabrics, meaning that production had to be switched over and none could be spared for commercial products. Following the war, the demand still could not be met for nylon commercial products, with the nylon riots taking place shortly thereafter as women showed up in droves of thousands in an attempt to purchase what little nylon stock there was. Eventually, consumer production normalized, and nylon became just another fabric as opposed to the innovation and novelty it had been in the decades prior, largely being eclipsed by other synthetic fabrics in the years to come. In spite of this, nylon is still a multi-billion-dollar industry to this day, making up 12% of all production of synthetic fibers. But what is it that all that nylon is being used for today? Let's take a look. Nylon, even today, is all around us. If you brushed your teeth today, as you should have, then you've relied on nylon to have those bristles polishing your pearly whites. If you drove your car to work or school, then you have parts in your car that have been reinforced with nylon resin, namely the small parts of the engine and the rubber in the tires. And then you have the obvious use of nylon, which is in nylon stockings, as we've gone over throughout the video. Nylon blends mixed with other synthetic fibers are also commonly used in clothing and other textiles. Apart from that, the uses of nylon commercially are so widespread and intricate that I could never go through every one. It's safe to say that just about everyone watching this has relied on nylon at some point. In fact, you might even be relying on it now, as it's used in manufacturing hardware.